Hello, everyone. I am Andrew Hochradel, and I am real phlegmy. Hold on. There we go. Welcome. That it was nasty. I'm so sorry you had to endure that. Let's go ahead and hop into our daily creative challenge today. We are going to be creating some really rad 80s typography. It is going to be super fun. We're also going to do some 3D. So we're getting into zebra stripes. We're getting into leopard print. We're getting into greens, pinks, blues, neons, all kinds of crazy stuff. So let's hop into our file. If you want to join me in this file, you can actually scroll down and you can grab this source file. It is just the font Yellowtail that we are using today. So I'm going to show you a few different ways that we can create an 80s vibe or a 90s vibe actually. Maybe I'll start with a 90s vibe real quick because it's super easy. If you want a really cool 90s vibe, all you need to do is follow a few steps here. We're just going to select our type, and this is like Verge 80s and 90s, so it still counts for the challenge. Don't get mad at me. We're going to select our type here, and of course, we are just going to make a copy of it to put off to the side, just so we have it. And with this rad, we are going to select it and go to Object, Expand, hit OK. And from there, we are going to unify this whole thing. That's going to create a compound path. We want this all to be one piece because when we start applying different effects to it, we want to make sure that it's not going to do it to each letter, that it does it to the entirety of our design. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a stroke to this. And I'm going to fill it with white just to make sure that we have a knocked out letter. Then we're going to add a black stroke. We're going to make that aligned to the outside right here using the stroke panel. And maybe do it so that it is a nice 20. So 20 pixels aligned to the outside, you can see looks really good, and it is filled with that white so that we don't have to worry about it. Now, all that I'm going to do to create this effect is I am going to grab this and I'm going to hold Alt or Option and Shift to drag it down to the side just a little bit. And from here, I am going to click and drag the stroke of the black onto the fill, and that is going to fill it with black. Then we are going to right click and arrange and send to back right there. And check it out. We've got this really cool kind of 80s, 90s typography really quickly. It's super easy. It's super easy to do this effect. And what's really cool is you could keep this as live type and then keep typing. But we created it here really great. And we'll add one last little accent. And that is going to be right here. We are going to create just a little underline for us to play around with. And what's really cool is we can actually just outline this. So we're gonna expand this path. Oops, there we go. We have this path and it's just the stroke. We can use the eyedropper tool to expand right there. And maybe we want this one to have a rounded edge. So we can change the edge to rounded. Let's make it a bit bigger. I think that works pretty good, 60. We're going to go to Object, Expand, and now we have kind of the width of what these letters are. We can click and just expand. Maybe let's scale it down a little bit and do that same trick where we move it down to the corner. And someone in the chat is asking, what does expand mean, please? Ooh, that's a great question. Let me answer that for you, Clarissa. And thanks for joining us. This is Adobe Live. We're here to help you and answer your questions every time. So let's talk about expanding real quick. We have our typography here, and this is what's called live type. So if I wanted to say cool over here, I could use the type tool and just click and start typing, right? This is live type. Now, this over here, when I select it and go to Object, Expand, it is going to turn it into shape. So you can see expand the object and the fill. So we hit OK, and now this is shapes, right? So I can add a stroke to it. It is just turned into a shape, much like this square is a shape. It is all just shapes, whereas this square, if you see over here, no anchor points on the active type, right? So that's the difference, is anchor points versus no anchor points. All right, let's create some 80s typography here. We're going to move the rad just over to the side. And with this rad in the middle, rad, cool. We are going to create some 80s type. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to get like a little pattern going on in the background, and I need some inspiration. So I'm going to go actually to Adobe Firefly. So we're going to go to firefly.adobe.com, and we are going to right here. So text effects, we're gonna get some inspiration. I'm just gonna type in rad right here in our prompt, and let's do 80s inspired neon animal print. So we're going to use this as inspiration for our typography and then build in the elements specifically how we want them. Ooh, I love this. Very cool. Very Lisa Frank. I love this color palette. Absolutely awesome. And so when asking, is there a difference between expand and create outlines? Nope. Same thing. Same. It does the same thing. So we have some great inspiration here for where we want to go. And what I'm loving are these kind of like blobby stripe or blobby blobs, I guess, the leopard print. So we're going to do some of that in the background. And the best way to create leopard print, y'all, it's so easy, is we're just going to create a bunch of horseshoes. So I am going to use the pen tool and we're going to create very jagged, kind of loose horseshoes, right? And I'm coming here and just creating this nice little horseshoe shape. We want them to be a little bit oblong, right? We want them to be a little bit weird, a little bit wonky, and that is going to be fine for us. And I'm probably going to create 3 of these. And then we're going to do a nice little technique to really play around to create a unique vibe for what we are going for here in the 80s. All right, so we've got our blobby blobs. Looks good. What we're going to do here is we're going to go to Effect. We are going to go to Stylize, and then we are going to go to Round Corners. So we're going to click on Round Corners. We're going to set this to 100. And boom, we got a nice little tiger stripe, right? A little blobby. And what's cool is we can actually grab these points and play around to get the perfect stripe or the perfect blob for what we are working on. And from here, I'm actually going to add a little bit of a roughen to this to just give it a little bit of that kind of print texture. We're going to go to Effect, we're going to go to Distort and Transform, and then click on Roughen right here. We're going to set these settings very, very low. So maybe 0.4 on the roughen, and then the detail I'm going to take down to like 3 and change the blending mode to smooth. So we do 5. There we go. So now we've got this little roughened blob, which I think is really cool. And I can save this. So I can click on this object and go over to our graphic styles panel right here and just hit plus. And it is going to save those effects that I have applied into a graphic style. So I can select my other blob and just click on my graphic style and it will apply it right there. So we've got some pretty cool little animal print blobs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a background here. We're going to make this a hot pink background. Send that all the way to the back using the hotkey Control, Shift, and left bracket, or you can just right click, go to Arrange, Send to Back right there. So we've got this really nice pink background, and now let's add in these animal prints. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 brushes real quick. Is with this one, I'm going to go to, actually, let's create it with all 3. Why not? So all 3 selected, we're going to open our brush panel and we're going to hit plus, and we're going to do scatter brush right here. Hit OK, and now we have this scatter, and we could mess around with the size and the spacing. Actually, why not? Let's do it. So let's do random, and let's kind of play around. That's probably the biggest that I want them to be, maybe a little bit lower. And we're setting our settings to the smallest and the biggest that we want these to be. Spacing, random, we do want them kind of spaced out a little bit. So I'm going to do like 100, keep that there, and then maybe a little bit of extra spacing if we want on the other side. Scatter, random, we do want to add some space there. That's how much it scatters off of the path. And then rotation, random, we want it to rotate randomly all the way across. So we're going to hit OK. And now we have this custom brush. So we're going to grab the brush and just smatter across the background. So right here, we are just smattering a little wiggle, woogle, and we don't want this to have a fill. We don't want this to have a stroke. We do want this to have a stroke, sorry, because the stroke is the brush. So as you can see, it is really, really crazy. So we're just going to take the size of that brush down and it should fix that for us. So change the size of this stroke to 0.2. Ooh, okay. So let's do maybe 0.5. A little bit too much, maybe 0.3. Okay, we're starting to get some results here, but there are problems with the actual brush. What's cool is I can come in and I can actually reopen that menu and change the options here, right? So the big thing I think is the spacing is too much. So I'm going to pull this down. And when you click on preview, you can see that it's going to start putting the live preview in there for you. So let's change the scatter. I think that's good. All right, so it's staying pretty much on the path. So we're gonna hit OK. And with those settings, I'm actually just gonna do this. I'm going to create a Z with the brush, and that's gonna give us a little more of that randomized look in the background. All right, think it's looking good. So now we can expand by going to Object, Expand Appearance, and now you see that it is all just paths. We're gonna make these a nice neon blue. Oops, that was a stroke. So we're gonna make this a nice neon blue and send it to the back. Ooh, that's looking a little crazy, but it's okay. We'll use Generative Recolor to help us out here. So looking good. Maybe we do want to do some zebra stripes here, right? So let's just grab our pen tool and kind of paint in some stripes using the pen tool. Very simple, very easy, is we can just paint in a couple of these stripes using the pen tool. We could do this with the knife tool as well, but for something like this, I just want a couple around the edge in the corners, so I'm not going to get too crazy with it, just using that pen tool to kind of mark them out. All right, cool. So I'm going to copy and paste these. Oh, these are actually tiger strikes, right? These would be tiger stripes. So I'm going to copy these and then kind of just place them in all of the corners, just aligning to the corners there. Oops. Let's rotate that one. We'll align it to the corner. And if you have some overlap like this, super easy. All you need to do is grab the direct selection tool, which is A, and you can select the ones that overlap and maybe move them or put them in a different position. So same thing here. I am going to do this. There we go. And these ones, all deleted. I can just double click into that group right there. And let's do these down in that corner. Looks good. And these little guys, I am going to move just right up here. And I'm kind of moving these individually to make sure that we have good coverage. Those there, those there. All right, I think we got some pretty good coverage. I am missing some pieces down here, so I'm just gonna grab some and put them down there. All right, chat, we're looking pretty good here. All right, we're getting rad, we're getting crazy. It's a little too bright, but we can pull that back. So now what I wanna do is I'm actually going to create some 3D text, and I'm going to select this type, and I want to do maybe a cool zebra print, right? And we're gonna do some different lighting on here. First, actually, I'm going to change the background to be a little bit more subdued. So we're going to go to Edit, Edit Colors, Generative Recolor. And from here, we are going to do just trippy disco lights, or we could type in maybe 80s inspired darker neon. So let's see what happens here. This is going to generate 4 options for us to kind of play around and see what works and what doesn't with our design. So you can click here. All right. Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. I love that one. All right, this is where we're going to be. I love this a lot, especially for what we're about to do. So I'm going to take my type here, and we're going to create a 3D type. We're going to make it white just so we can see it. And we're going to select this type and go to Effect, 3D Materials, and we're going to go to Extrude and Bevel, right? So that's going to kind of pull it off axis, which is what we want. And we're going to add in a few different settings. So I'm going to add in some depth. That's going to give us some nice depth to kind of see the difference of that kind of zone, or the difference of the front and the edge of the letter. Give us some depth. We could do a twist here. And what a twist is going to do is it's going to twist those letters. This could be cool if we did like 10. Let's see what it looks like. Just a very subtle twist. I'm not crazy about the twist. All right, let's leave the twist off. So no twist. From there, the taper, we're going to leave it 100%. We don't want it to taper off at all. But we are going to change the bevel here, and we're going to do a rounded bevel. It's just going to give us a really nice kind of rounded shape on the edge there, looking good. I have pixel preview turned on. Don't know why, so I turned it off. But from here, we are going to start playing around with the materials. This is really cool. So if you've never used materials, it's something that you can add to letters to make it look very 3D, look very unique. So we're going to click on materials, and then we are going to use a community material. So find this little button with a person on it, and you click and it is going to take you to the Substance 3D community assets. From here, you can find all kinds of different textures and materials. So I'm going to click on materials and all categories and just type in animal. So let's scroll down and you'll see I have an awesome zebra right here, zebra bump, which is what I want for this stream. So we're going to download the zebra bump and then come back into Illustrator. To add the zebra bump, we are going to hit the plus, add materials, and then you'll see in my downloads, I have this nice little SBSAR file that is a zebra material, and it loads directly into your materials panel. With our type selected, we are going to click on zebra material. Check it out. I don't know, looks pretty rad. So we've got our zebra material here looking pretty cool, but we are going to add some custom lighting to it to kind of match the vibe and design that we have going on here. And I also love that some of the tiger stripes are coming over the type. We might add some shadow to that as well. So to change the settings of this 3D, we do want to have it repeat quite a bit so that we have a little more texture right there. So you can see it's got that zebra texture a little bit better on the edge. There's no offset. The rotation, we do want it to maybe go to the side a little bit. Not too much. I just want maybe a 45 here. So we got a nice little 45. Actually, oh, because it's tilted, let's do 20. All right, that looks pretty good to me. I don't really have any, any other thoughts there? I think that looks pretty good, chat. We good? Just in time for the zebras? Yes. So we're going to select the zebra here, and we are going to go to lighting. This is a new Word tool. We are going to add some really cool lighting to kind of match what's happening here. So you can see we have some oranges, we have some pinks, we have some yellows. I do like the oranges and the blues that we have here. So let's try to match with the background, but not be the background, right? So the first one, we are going to select our light right here, and we're going to do color. And from here, maybe we want to get some of that nice neon blue. So hitting OK, you see that now that white is turning blue because we're changing where that light is coming from. You can actually see the live preview as I drag around, which is really cool, to find the perfect lighting. And I do want it to just hit the front of the letters right here and maybe be a little bit more intense, right? We want that really bright blue. That looks pretty good to me. Now we're going to add another light. By just clicking on this plus button, it is going to add another light. And this one we want to maybe come down, and this is going to hit the bottom edge. So we're going to change this color to that nice purple, that nice rich purple that we have. We'll hit OK. Ooh, looking good. I am going to take up the intensity. Look at that. That's a really good purple. You can see as I bring this around, I do want to hit a little bit maybe of this edge with that purple. And then the top up here, I do want to add some green. I think green would be a really cool addition here. So doing the top here, we are going to add in some neon green. Yeah, there we go. And adding that in, these lights are really close to each other. So I'm going to start to kind of pull these around and see if I can get a little bit better of a balance on these letters. So I do like the purple here. The green is a little intense, so I'm going to bring the green down quite a bit. There we go. And I think we've got some pretty good letters going on here. Right? This feels rad to me. It does feel like there is a little bit too much of the depth here. So I'm going to pull the depth down just a little bit, because I want to be able to see through those letters. I also am going to change the repeat quite a bit to give us a little more of that look. There we go. Looks good to me. And then I do want to add maybe a shadow here. So I can go to lighting. Actually, I don't want to add a shadow here. I don't think that is going to look good. But I do want to add some intensity to these lights and have it be a little bit brighter. So we are going to take this pink, this purple, all the way up. Right? And that's going to give us a little bit more of that light. And I do think that I might need to have a white light in here as well. So I'm going to add one more light that is white to really just capture that, the zebra-ness of it, and take the intensity on that white light really, really far up. So that's going to give us a little bit more of that pop so that we don't have to deal with what's happening with the edges there. Maybe let's pull this a little bit further out. And I just want a little highlight. All right, there we go. Pretty balanced right there. So that looks pretty good in my opinion. But let's grab these edges here, and I'm just going to bring them up so they go over some of these letters. I think that's a cool effect. And then we are going to select these two, and maybe we want to give just a little bit of a shadow. And what I'm going to do here is let's give it a shadow. Sure. Let's go to Effect. Let's go to Stylize, and let's go to Outer Glow. And that is going to give us a nice little outer glow here. Let's do maybe 20 pixels, maybe 40%, and hit OK. So now we've got this nice little glow to give us some dimension to this design, and I think it's looking pretty rad. What could be cool is we could add some actual zebra stripes to what's happening here. So I'm going to take those shadows like right off because I want to see what happens if we add zebra to these and then make them blue. So I'm going to make that just a compound path, and then we are going to apply that material directly to all of these. Ooh, cool. Okay, so we're going to change the repeat here, make it a little bit less. That looks cool. And then let's add some lighting here, and that light is just going to be that hot, bright blue. Yeah. Cool. Okay. This is really rad. This might break my computer, but let's see what happens if I try to add the material to all of these as well. Yes. Okay, so a little bit of a repeat. That's way too much repeat. All right, that's good. Let's go to lighting, and we are going to do these that nice orange. All the zebra print. Take that intensity way up. Right there. Ooh, chat. I don't know. It's kind of cool. I think this is rad. I do think this is pretty rad. So you can play around, and like we saw, there were a bunch of different pieces here that we could have used. Maybe we want to go to a snake skin. Sure, why not? So let's download the snake skin real quick. We have a couple minutes, so let's do it. And we're going to add snake skin to this effect. We're going to open up our 3D materials right here with the window, and then come back to materials, hit plus, add materials, grab that snake skin out of our downloads, hit open, and check this out. Snake skin. Changed right there. We are going to increase the repeat, so we've got a little bit more of that snake skin texture. And then maybe we want to make it more metallic. Ooh, let's do a neon snake skin. Ooh, it's going to be like glowy. Scattering intensity, a little bit much. Height range, offset. Okay, I'm not mad about this at all. Snakeskin. Snakeskin. So we've got some really cool snakeskin, and I love that it has some like dimension to it. So play around with the different textures. You can download as many as you want. They're just there in the community assets. Check it out. Let me see what you create with your 80s inspired typography. I want to see snakeskin. I want to see leopard print. I want to see all kinds of zebra stripes. Have some fun, make something weird, and I'll see you again for another Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge. Bye.